Well, finally, the lumber breaks out last night. Jay Bruce, a home run early on with 2 men aboard. Todd Frazier hit number 30, but none more clutch than the 9th inning. Joey Votto, his team down a run to the seats in left field against Francisco Rodriguez as the Reds win in Milwaukee. The roof is open. It's trying to turn into a sunny day here in Milwaukee. And we welcome you to Miller Park, the rubber game of this 3-game series between the Cincinnati Reds and the Milwaukee Brewers. And hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball. You made the comment last night, Chris, before the game ever started, about how Jay Bruce, it was his first time batting in the number 2 hole in the batting order. And you thought he was going to break out with a big night, and that's exactly what he did.
Well, that was just based on what he did the night before. He hit the ball hard a couple of times, and you're looking for little things when you're struggling the way that Jay Bruce had struggled until last night. I mean, his batting average was down around 100 over the last 23 ball games, but he broke out in a big way. That pitch went 442 feet to dead center field and plated some runs as Bruce gets a home run and 3 runs batted in last night. So he had a really big night, there's no doubt about it, and there's no reason to believe why when he gets hot, he can't continue, because we have seen him scalding hot, carrying a ball club from time to time, and we hope that's one of those runs.
Take a look at the pitching matchup today, and trying to get his first major league win, making his 4th major league appearance, a young left-hander, John Lamb.
You know, I really think that John Lamb has pitched a lot better than his overall numbers indicate. I mean, you can almost throw out his first ever game when he major league debuted in Dodger Stadium against his hometown team. But he's 0-2, a 6 earned run average, but he has a lot of strikeouts. I like all of his pitches. His fastball, his curveball, slider, and changeup. To me, they're all plus pitches. He just needs to locate a little bit more and pitch on a day when the Reds will get a few runs. And Willie Peralta, well, he spent a couple of months on the disabled list with a oblique injury, and when he came back, he was throwing the ball pretty good, better than his overall numbers. You see what he has already this year, a 4-8 record. They're a little worried about him. His normal velocity on his fastball is anywhere from 94 to 97 miles an hour, and last time he topped out around 91, so they're wondering if maybe he's going through a dead arm period. We'll find out early on if Willie Peralta's got his normal, very good fastball that he often finds against the Reds.
Well, if you missed Jim Day's interview with Joey Votto last night, we're going to have a little piece of that coming up. I mean, it's big-time stuff.
Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy, check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. Have a brat, maybe a dog, as we're back in the tailgating capital of baseball, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm Jim Day. You know, the Reds had a 6-1 lead last night, a 7-3 lead, and saw it fall by the wayside. They were down by a run in the ninth inning, and, man, it would have been another devastating loss had Jay Bruce not singled and Joey Votto behind him off of Francisco Rodriguez, who had not blown a save all season long. Opposite field home run, a 2-run go-ahead home run to take the Reds off the mat and lead them to victory. After the game, I talked to Votto, and he was very open about the situation this season.
Fans of Cincinnati need to know, this is embarrassing for us, and it's been really frustrating. And we take no pride in this. We take it very seriously. I know that it bothers me. And I hope that every single time we have a game like this is us moving in the direction of a winning atmosphere, a winning clubhouse, a winning roster. And it's been a few years now. We had a really good stretch there for a while with this roughly the same group of guys, and we're not doing it right now. And the people in Cincinnati, especially the fans, need to know that we're doing everything we can to make that right.
And a win today would go a long way. It would be a road series victory. It is on the line as John Lamb goes to the hill for Cincinnati. Rubber game of a 3-game set. Reds and Brewers, stay with us.
In Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Let's take a look at Brian Price's starting lineup trying to win this series. It's been a while since the Reds have done that. It's brought to you by Meyer. Jason Bourgeois in center, Jay Bruce in right, Joey Votto at first. Brandon Phillips in a cleanup spot. Frazier hit his 30th home run last night. He's down at third. Suarez at short. Pena, Schumacher, and Lamb. The latter third. One of our storylines today brought to you by Elk & Elk. The top of the order. It's the same trio in the lineup today in that 12-run outburst. Look at that. 9 hits. Bourgeois, Bruce, and Votto scoring 7 runs and driving in 6 2 home runs. That's a good night. They're trying to do the same thing today to the talented but injured for 2 months this season with that oblique strain. Right-hander Willie Peralta.
Well, talented is right, because after all, in the last 3 years, Willie Peralta has more wins for this Milwaukee Brewer team than any other pitcher. Of course, most of those came in 1 year. That was last year when he had career high wins and as 17. But he's a hard thrower, big, strong guy with a good fastball that can at times run up there in the high 90s. He's got a hard breaking ball as well. He's had his best game ever against the Reds, but he's coming off a rather tough outing where he didn't have much of a fastball or anything else to complement it.
Right first fastball at 91 miles per hour. We'll keep an eye on that. Strike one to Bourgeois. We're underway. Jason, a .259 batter, a home run, 8 runs batted in. And it bounces up there, a ball and a strike. Another good crowd today. They had better than 34,000 here last night. The Reds can win this game today. That not only win the series, they would also move out of last place and leapfrog these Brewers. Granted, by only a half game, but it's a half game better in the NL Central standings. One ball and 2 strikes on Jason Bourgeois. And a fastball is high. That's 96 miles per hour on that fastball.
Yeah, he insisted after his last start that his arm felt fine. He thought it was just a mechanical deal that he had to work through. And they did say that in his bullpen session this week, he was throwing the ball back the way he normally does.
That's back-to-back fastballs at 96.
You can see his delivery. I mean, it is really a full effort delivery. He's not one of these guys that, you know, it looks like he's in cruise control at 90% and then can add when he wants to. What you see in the first inning is normally what you get all game long.
Having a hard time putting Bourgeois away on that fastball. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Final game of the 3-game series. Reds, of course, coming off that 1-9 homestand and trying to get the series victory over these Brewers. It's been a very streaky season series. We documented that in some detail last night, where the Reds started off playing very well against the Brewers. Won 4 out of 5, then dropped 5 in a row before winning last night. And a jam shot roller to the shortstop, and Segura throws out Bourgeois. We look at the Brewers on defense presented by Ford, and there are a number of changes from the last couple of days. Hernan Perez starts down at third base, moving Alien Herrera over to second. Lucroy in the lineup, but today plays first. And taking over behind the plate is Martin Maldonado. Jay Bruce, a double, a homer, a couple of lineouts, a single. Batting in the 2 spot for the first time all year long last night. Drove in 3, scored 3, and he's down strike 1 to Willie Peralta. Overall, Jay with 19 home runs, 72 runs batted in. His batting average at just .233, and not much to write home about on the on-base percentage. Fractionally above 30% of his plate appearances, Bruce is reaching base. And a Tapper foul. Peralta looking in, and now the 1-2 delivery coming to Jay Bruce, and it bounces up there. You know, the last time that the Reds saw Peralta, you've got to go back to the 3rd week of the season. He went 7 innings, allowed 8 hits and 6 runs. It was a very odd outing. The first 5 innings, Peralta shut the Reds out on 3 hits. Then they scored 4 times in the 6th inning, 3 on a home run by Zach Kozar, as Bruce has gone on strikes. Peralta went back out there for the 7th. Allowed a 1-out triple to Billy Hamilton and a 2-run home run to the man who bats now, Joey Votto. So we'll see how today plays out. Normally Peralta has pitched very well against the Reds. That's an odd line where you see a pitcher go 7 innings and allow 6 earned runs. And it happened in a hurry late. 2 away, and Joey takes ball 1. .309 hitter, 25 home runs, 65 runs batted in. Votto 28 doubles, that on base percentage at 45%. And just under the knees. Votto finally got a chance to swing the bat in a game last night. He did not walk and had 5 plate appearances. Strike called, 2-1. He struck out looking with runners at second and third his first time up. After that, single, RBI single, line out to third, and the big time home run in the 9th inning off Francisco Rodriguez. Reds went from 1 down to 1 up. They would tack on 2 more runs in the inning. 3 balls and a strike.
Well, you probably going to get on 3-2 what he got on 3-1, which is a fastball right down the middle.
3-2 delivery, and he got that fastball and he bangs it into center field. A 2-out single for Joey Votto. Man can hit.
Boy, he just makes it look awfully easy. He just drops the bat head right in the zone and lets Peralta supply the power on that. A little low line drive into left center field for a base knock.
So here's Brandon Phillips. He was one of the quiet Cincinnati Reds in the game last night. He was on base 3 times. He knocked in a run with a ground out. He had 1 hit. But everybody else in front of him was doing all the damage by the time he got to the plate. With Bruce knocking in 3 in the 2 spot and Votto knocking in 3 in the 3 hole.
You know, really what the Brewers think they have in Willie Peralta is a Johnny Cueto in the making. But what I have not seen from Peralta really this year in April or now is a guy that has learned how to back off a little bit and save something for when he wants it. Everything he throws right now is as hard as he can throw it. And that delivery that you see of his is, he's got a lot of moving pieces. He's got arms going one way, he's got legs going another way. He develops a lot of power, there's no doubt, but you know, that's going to have to calm down a little bit in order for him to repeat it to the point where he can really locate his fastball.
One ball and 2 strikes on Brandon Phillips. Votto has 8 stolen bases, has been thrown out 3 times. Had a stolen base in the series opener and then was thrown out trying to steal third base. 1-2 on Brandon Phillips, and Peralta comes to the plate in the air, and this should end the inning. It will. John Lamb looking for his first big league win, gets the ball when we return. Renicky after the first couple of months of this season. Let's take a look at his starting lineup tonight. His shortstop Segura leads off. Lucroy at first. Ryan Braun in right. Davis in left. Domingo Santana in center, with Perez at third. Herrera the second baseman. Maldonado catching. Peralta. Fourth major league appearance. He came over in the Johnny Cueto deal from the Royals organization. Is left-hander John Lamb.
I think the Reds knew when they picked up John Lamb as part of that package of two other left-handed pitchers in exchange for Johnny Cueto. They knew they were not getting a finished product. I mean, this is a young left-hander that is still in the making and figuring out what it's like to be here in the major leagues. The importance of getting ahead of hitters, the importance of being able to locate that fastball, but from a scouting perspective, you like what you see with Lamb. I mean, he's got 4 good pitches. He's got a nice delivery, loose arm, and that's the ingredients that you need in order to make a future starter.
Lamb originally a 5th-round draft choice by Kansas City in 2008. In 20 minor league starts this year, the AAA affiliate for Kansas City is Omaha, and of course down in Louisville with the Reds. A 10-2 record. And an ERA just barely over 2.5. He was a Pacific Coast League All-Star prior to the trade. Makes his home in Laguna Hills, California. Grew up in La Palma, California. Jam shot right at Brandon Phillips, who throws him out, 1 away. We look at the Reds on defense. Presented by Ford. Bourgeois flanked by Schumacher and Bruce. Same infield the Reds are playing with virtually every day. And Pena for a second straight, or a second time in this series, gets a start. Tucker Barnhart started the game last night. Pena behind the plate when Raisel Iglesias pitched so well. Once again in a losing effort. And the Reds just could not score behind him. Here's Lucroy. Breaking ball in there, a strike. Bruce Dreckman, the home plate umpire today. Alfonso Marquez at first. Tom Allian, the crew chief, at second. Dan Bellino, the umpire, at third. Lucroy had a couple of hits, was on base 3 times, scored a run, knocked in a run last night. 2 hits, 2 scored, an RBI on Friday. He came into this series swinging the bat better than at any time this year, and he has continued that through the first 2 games.
Well, his batting average, has finally gotten above 250. That's for the first time this year. He's up to 255 now, and even though his batting average is down, those that follow the Brewers and that really get into the sabermetric numbers will tell you that his line drive percentage, I mean the percentage of times he hits the ball hard, is right on line with what it has been in the past few years when he's seen his batting average a lot higher. So what you're saying with Lucroy, he's just hitting in bad luck right now.
Still 2-2. Lamb trying to put Lucroy away, and does. Good breaking ball.
Pulled the string on him right there. Lucroy looking for fastball, and good location for that changeup. It's pitch number 6 on your box tracks. He gets the center of the plate, and it's down just below the knee. So, for a hitter to see that pitch coming, it's got a chance to be a strike because it has the plate. You just don't know if it's going to be high enough, and if it was a fastball, it would have been a lot more hittable than it was, and just an excellent pitch to get a strikeout.
Big deep breath by Lamb as he now faces Ryan Braun. 2 down, nobody on. That ball is stunned to left field and off the top of the wall and over the wall, a home run.
Well, a lot of times the get-ahead curveball is a really good pitch to an opposite hitter, but he just hangs that ball up around letter high. It really doesn't have much downward break at all, and even though Ryan Braun did not hit it all that well, he got to the top of the fence and gave him a favorable bounce.
Most career home runs against the Reds among active players. Yep. Ryan Braun, 29 of them. And that's his 24th overall this year. So 1-0 Milwaukee. That's the 4th home run in 17 innings. Surrendered by Lamb. And he's fallen behind Davis. 2 balls and no strikes. Ground ball at Frazier. So at the end of 1 after the Braun home run, the Brewers out to a 1-0 lead.
Todd Frazier, career high 30 so far this season. Which brings us to our IGS Bringing the Energy. Most home runs by a Reds right-handed hitter since 1990. Greg Vaughn, that enormous season in 99. Then Larkin, and now Frazier, Phillips, and Mitchell, all tied with 30 home runs as Frazier steps in. I was talking to him this morning. He said, you know, I looked back in the highlights of the game last night, and I saw that you were talking about my Little League exploits, and then I hit one out right on cue. And he said, can you please talk again today while I'm at bat? And I said, I don't believe in jinxes or reverse jinxes. He said, just talk. I don't care if it's about me cutting my fingernails, as he doubles down the left field line. So maybe I have to change my tune. Maybe it works.
Jim, I'm telling you, you're going to have to talk about him his first at bat every game on this road trip if he keeps getting hits. I want to get back to Jim Day for a minute, though. Jim, I got to tell you, that interview that you did with Joey Votto after the game last night, I just thought it was an outstanding interview. You know, we rarely see that side of Votto where, you know, he basically was telling the fans, look, we know we look bad. We know we are bad. We know we're not playing well. But it's not because we don't care. And you know, Votto took it upon himself to at least lay it on the line. And, Jim, I give you all the credit because, you know, your relationship with him, I think, puts him in a position where he feels very comfortable, you know, being there. And that was great stuff. 0-1 on Suarez. I think we ought to rerun that later. All of a sudden, you guys had a little surprise where they turned off the lights, and you got a little chuckle out of that. That was fun.
I think the interview probably would have gone all night had they not turned out the lights. Joey was really talkative.
He really was. So, Jim, nice going. Breaking ball down low. One ball and 2 strikes. Frazier taking a pretty good lead out there. Frazier not afraid to take off. This will advance a runner. So Suarez at the very minimum able to get Frazier over. And Todd stands at third with 1 away in the inning. And, to tie a ribbon around that whole thing, and perhaps we'll come back to it again later. Is it, I hope Jim Day is interviewing her right after the game today.
Well, you're not kidding.
Hey, Jim, it tends to make it a little more fun to do your job down there, doesn't it, when they win games?
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
I mean, you don't get interviews after losses. You only ask for interviews after wins. So you must have been kind of rusty.
Well, he wasn't rusty last night.
I say that all the time. It was nice to go into the clubhouse and hear the music blaring. See guys smiling, at least for one night.
And there's a bouncer. How about that? Into center field, a run-scoring single by Brian Pena. And it's a 1-1 ball game.
Boy, the advantage of putting the bat on the ball. I mean, you just see it happen all the time here. Pena doesn't hit it hard. And because Peralta is a power pitcher, really uses his legs a lot, falls off the first base, he leaves that right up the center gap wide open. And Pena picks up a very sweet run batted in to tie this baby up.
Here's Schumacher batting in the 8 hole, getting to start in left field as he did last night. Skip had a good game last night. He was taken out of the game as part of a double switch. He had 3 at bats, had a double and a single. Pulled foul, 1 ball and 1 strike. Peralta head now 1-2. Runner at first, a run home, 1 out. And Schumacher gone on strikes. He's double checking that was a count. And 2 are out in the inning with the pitcher Lamb coming up.
He thought the pitch was outside. Breaking ball that never really did catch the plate, at least according to our Fox tracks.
So Peralta catches a break. Lamb not only in search of his first big league win, he's also trying here to get his first major league hit. That part of it won't happen in that at bat. But the Reds tie the game 1-1 after an inning and a half.
agrees.
You know, he's been doing, such a great job, man, that baseball has been unfair to him. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, he's been throwing the ball good. He was giving us a chance, to stay in the ball game. And it just that bad inning, it seems to happen. The same thing happened in L.A., and at home. But, at the same time, we have to remember that he's a very young, pitcher, and, he's still learning.
And one thing I've noticed, guys, about John Lamb, when a rookie comes up, and particularly a guy that's traded to a new team and a new organization, guys he doesn't know, it takes a while for him to fit in the clubhouse. John Lamb fits in right away. He is already a fixture on this team, and it took him no time at all. That's the type of respect he already has in the room.
It sure would be nice to see this young man get that win here today. He allowed the home run in the first inning to Ryan Braun. But his team comes right back, scores to tie the game. And it's 1-1 on Domingo Santana to open up the bottom of the second inning.
Of course, one thing that would help a young pitcher like Lamb coming over from another organization and getting called up almost immediately upon getting into the organization is the fact that he joins a whole covey of other rookies. So if you watch them, the sociology of the clubhouse is such that those rookies, especially rookies pitchers, are all going to be hanging together. We had a shot of 3 of them the other night right there at the little railing to the dugout. But there's no doubt about it. He's a nice loose personality.
Dribbled foul. And he paints the outside corner with a 91-mile-per-hour fastball. And rung up is Santana.
Well, just a nice, easy delivery. And, you get back to the fact that the radar gun is helpful when you're scouting amateurs. I'm not so sure it's helpful beyond that, because you got a guy like John Lamb, whose fastball is 91, 92. But if you have life and if you have location, that is as good as a fastball much harder that does not have location or life.
Hard hit ball to left field. It'll fall in a base hit for Perez. He's a 1-out base runner. Leon Herrera has started at third base each of the first 2 games of this series. Went 1 for 4 last night, was on base twice, a walk, a double, and scored a couple of runs. Second hit for the Brewers. Their other hit, a home run by Braun in the opening inning. And Lamb will pay attention to the runner Perez at first, and it's a ground ball. Nice play by Frazier. Throws for one. They turn it over. How about that? Wow. Doesn't get much better than that. Frazier made a couple of outstanding plays in the game last night. And here's yet another in the second inning on this Sunday afternoon. Take one more look before we send you to break. Around the horn to end the inning. Reds come to bat here in the third inning against Willie Peralta. It is a 1-1 game, top of the order. Bourgeois, Bruce, and Votto. Jason granted out to the shortstop, leading off the game. And takes outside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Bourgeois has been in the driver's seat, brought to you by Kia. He's done a nice job. .333 batter, spanning a 6-game hitting streak. I mean, a lot of people are going to remember, you know, the base running snafu in that one game. There were 2 of them, and especially the glaring mistake when he tried to race home on an infield fly rule and was tagged out at home plate. He felt bad about it, but we said at the time, you know, the only thing you can do is show up the next day and move on and go forward. You can't change it. And he's been able to do that. Two and two to Jason Bourgeois. And he's out on strikes. It's number 3 today for Willie Peralta.
Well, already better today for Willie Peralta than it was his last time out. He only went 2 2/3 against the Cleveland Indians, and he gave up a bunch of runs in that game. It was the shortest outing he has had since, well, about 2 years, 2.5 years. So whatever he did as far as fixing his mechanics between his last start and now, they've done a nice job because he's throwing hard and so far getting the job done.
Two and one to Jay Bruce. He struck out swinging his first time up. Joey Votto waits on deck in this 1-1 game, top of the third inning. And a tapper down to Lucroy, who's handling first base, and he'll handle this ground ball for the second out of the inning. So here comes Votto. He owns one of the 3 Reds hits in the game so far against Peralta when he had a single in the center field on a 3-2 count in the first inning, wound up being stranded at first base.
Well, Votto, one of the few Reds hitters in this lineup that has had any really measure of success against Peralta. Picked up his 8th career hit off of him. He came in batting a little bit over 300 against Peralta. But there are some that have really struggled. Bruce, Phillips, Frazier. They have not figured out this Brewer right-hander really anytime they've seen him.
Yeah, we were talking about a former Red, Edwin Encarnacion, yesterday, and now he's hitting 24 straight games. He had 3 home runs in a Toronto rout yesterday. Well, no drama, no suspense today, as Votto shoots one into left center field. A 2-out single once more for Votto. Encarnacion in his first at bat today, bottom of the first inning against Alfredo Simon. Home run number 30, has knocked in 91 runs, and the hitting streak to 25 straight games. Edwin.
Boy, you know, when Edwin was in Cincinnati, it almost seemed like he was at the end of his career, that it would really never get off the ground. And he ended up going to Toronto. He's now played more than 11 years in the major league, so he's etched himself out a really nice career. But at one time, the Toronto Blue Jays also gave up on him, and they sent him down to the minor leagues. And that's since him coming back over the last few years is what he has really all of a sudden turned on and done such a great job.
But you know what's interesting is if you look back on his Reds career, it took being sent back to the minor leagues that would prove in 2 seasons to be the igniter or reigniter for Encarnacion. He'd start out terrible with the big league club. They'd send him down. He'd come back up, and over the final couple of months, he'd knock the cover off the ball and then do it all over again. And I remember there were a couple of Latin players on the Reds in the organization that said at the time, after he was traded, ultimately, they felt it was going to be a very bad mistake by letting Encarnacion go, feeling like he was just very immature and that sooner or later that light would come on. And it obviously took a lot longer than they would have even expected. I'm assuming they're no longer around.
If you remember, the fans in Cincinnati were all over Edwin.
Yep.
I mean, every time, he'd make a few errors in a ball game, and every time a ball would come his way, they'd start to boo. Same thing when he would come to the plate, and I think it really affected him. And he's figured out a way to put that criticism and that noise aside.
Mm-hmm. Two and one on Brandon Phillips. Joey, a short lead over there held on by Lucroy, and it's 3 balls and a strike. Brandon popped up to right field his first time up. Now all of a sudden Maldonado comes sprinting out, and coming in from third is Perez. Well, I tell you, they play some big league tunes here in Milwaukee. Sound system's incredible. I mean, they had Chris Welsh moving around 3 different occasions if you weren't here last night.
Oh, it was Saturday
The
night.
original warm-up act was Staying Alive from Saturday Night Fever by the Bee Gees. Then it went to Smoke on the Water. And as this inning comes to an end, we'll leave you with a thought of Chris Welsh dancing around in the booth to the tones of Ice, Ice, Baby. In attendance receive a Pete Rose Stars of the Queen City bobblehead presented by Queen City Sausage. Tickets are going quickly. Get yours right now. Log on to Reds.com/tickets. 1 run, 4 hits for the Reds. 1 run, 2 hits for Milwaukee. Brewers scored first on a home run by Ryan Braun in the first inning. The Reds tied it on a double by Frazier. He moved to third on a ground ball by Suarez, and against an infield that was drawn in, Brian Pena bounced one into center field for a hit, an RBI, to tie the game. So here we are, last of the third. 1-1 to Maldonado, batting for the first time. Just a 194 hitter. I mean, this is an inning that Land would like to, get right through here without a lot of fooling around. You've got a guy hitting 194. You have a pitcher who does not have a hit all year long. And then Segura, the leadoff man, due up third. Love to stay away from Lucroy and Braun here in the third inning. And he starts off the 194 batting Maldonado, 3 balls and a strike. Still 3-2 on Martin Maldonado. He got a lot of playing time early this year, you may remember. When the Reds were here in April, that's when Lucroy was behind the plate, took a foul ball off his foot, broke one of his toes, and off he went to the disabled list. There's a fair ball into the corner.
Well, he fell behind 3-1 through a couple of fastballs and then threw a little bit of a, I guess, a cutter. That's his version of a slider cut fastball, and he just got it up above the waist. And that was a pitch that was designed to be inside and jam Maldonado, and he just didn't get it in there. So now with the pitcher coming up, you got to figure Peralta's up there to lay a bunt down.
So now Peralta asked to bunt, and that's perfectly done. Bunted it right at the third baseman.
There's a little bit of luck involved in that. I mean, that is not exactly textbook style right there, but he was able to get the bat on the ball and got it down there. Wow.
Use hashtag Ohio Data Strong Fan. You might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. We'd like to have you tweet your strongest fan photo. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. So now Segura with the go-ahead run at third. And 1 out in the inning. Good pitch there on the inside corner for strike 2.
For Segura this year, it's either been at the very top of the order, is it like he is today, and I would say primarily against left-handers, or way down at the bottom of the order in the number 7 spot. Nothing really in between. Now they're trying to get Segura to chase up and out of the strike zone. Second time in a row he's throwing him a fastball up there. That's a dangerous spot for him.
That one dropped foul off to the first base side, not a play. Remains 1 ball and 2 strikes.
You know, Jim Day in his visit with Joey Votto found out that one of the main reasons why hitters like hitting here is the fact that the background is so good. It's gives you such a great contrast. I don't think you get that advantage as a hitter during the day with the roof open. You've got some shadows, you've got light, dark, dark again out in the outfield. I just don't see hitters picking the ball up as well during the daytime here they did do at night. I always go back to the comments I used to read about Wade Boggs, Hall of Fame hitter, who said it was much more difficult to hit during the day than it is at night because you're squinting. I mean, on a bright day, a sunglasses type of day, you're squinting. And your pupils are small, and you don't really see the ball as well as you do at night when it seems like the ball is just illuminated compared to everything else dark around you.
3 balls and 2 strikes. And gone swinging is Segura. That's a big out, but one more big one to go.
Wow, really good changeup right there. I think this is really his best secondary pitch. He's not throwing much in the way of his curveball at all. And I think that was a changeup, if I'm not mistaken. Both his changeup and his curveball have downward action, sometimes difficult to figure them out.
You know, it's interesting about that daytime nighttime thing, and I always found it so interesting. I used to pay a lot of attention to it back when I was doing the Cubs games. It's 25 years ago now, but they weren't playing very many night games. And after really looking at it over a 6-year time frame, most of the Cub hitters, not everyone, but the overwhelming majority, always hit better during the day than they did at night. Now, they were the only team that was playing the number of day games they were playing. There's a base hit into left field, and McCoy makes it 2-1.
How about for broadcasters? A little tougher during the day than at night?
That all depends on how the night goes.
Jammed him a little bit, but not enough.
Well, you know, it's serious. It is weird, though, because, you know, it almost made me wonder, well, do you just adapt, you know, like we do generally to just about everything there is out there? Did it have to do with the scheduling and you're all messed up when you got on the road and you're playing night? I don't know. So you look at this Brewer team, for example, they hit 10 points higher on the road, or let me try that again. They hit 10 points higher at night than they do during the day. The Reds, a 15-point differential at night than the daytime.
Now, the Reds have not been very good during the day at all this year. From a win-loss standpoint, they've won 12 and lost 27 during the day. Of course, the Brewers aren't a whole lot better. They've won 17 and lost 27. If you want to break it down even further and find out what the Reds have done on Sundays, miserable. 3 wins, 18 losses. Brewers 9 and 11. I'm breaking it down for you today now.
Breaking it down. Should have had you perhaps diving into some of these numbers and, you know, contacting your good friends out in Vegas.
Well, I didn't know until the other night that you were been following the sabermetric crowd so closely. Talking about the advantages versus the disadvantages of walks over guys that are hitting maybe a few points higher.
I had no comments on it at all. I was asking you.
Fascinating that you.
I asked you the question because I really did not know what the answer would be. I had somebody sent me a
tweet.
Well, no, it was a friend of mine who received an email from another guy that he knows. I don't know this guy, and I guess this guy is a
guy
is a you know, pretty hardcore sabermetrician. And my buddy said, sorry, but I thought you'd chuckle at this. The guy sends it and says, Tom was talking about that thing tonight. You might want to remind him that batting average is a part of on-base percentage. And I said, well, I don't know much, but I think I have that part figured out.
Better be careful
So
how
maybe
you
we
talk
misled.
about the guy.
We misled. Maybe I misled or misspoke the question I asked you the other night. There's a roller foul. Braun homered his last time up. And for those of you that weren't with us, I posed the question to Chris, because he follows this a lot more closely than I do, but I'm open-minded. I'm just curious as to what the answer would be. When I asked the question, we were looking at, hitters' counts on their batting averages on certain counts over the course of a year. And it just so happened that on one count, guys were hitting .318 with an on-base percentage not too much higher. We'll get back to this in a little while. But anyway, the Brewers take the lead, and really it was the double to the number 8 hitter which started it all. 2-1 Milwaukee at the end of 3.
Me to talk during his at bat last night. He hit a home run and then a double in the first, so it worked. And so let's talk about some dance moves. Brian Pena says he has a future in Dancing with the Stars on the recent homestand. Very nice job. And then taking after Pena, Frazier last night did nearly the same type of move. So little dipsy-do danceroo as Frazier fouls one off. I can't believe it worked in the first inning. But I'm out of material, Tom. It's time to send it back up to you.
James, you are never out of material, young man. That we have come to find out. Reds fans have known it a lot longer than I've known it. But I've known it now for 9 solid years. You never run out of material. Our producer of Reds baseball, Josh Hall, as that one is a broken bat, but a base hit for Todd Frazier. He's 2 for 2. And so, Jim Day, you just keep right on talking when Todd Frazier's coming to the plate. That's a standing rule from now on. You agree?
Until he starts going bad.
No. Do you agree?
Sure.
All right.
Do they play the lottery on Sundays? I might have to cash in on this luck somehow.
Well, I want to get back. I was starting to talk about Josh Hall because we were visiting before the game, and I think all of us, it's rare. Look, it's rare that there's an interview after the game where all of us are just kind of sitting up here really watching it and listening and like, wow, it's pretty cool. So for those of you that missed it last night, Jim Day and Joey Votto, we are going to run a clip or two of that interview. The next half inning. That was great stuff. Great stuff. Here's Suarez, and he takes down low for ball 1. 1-0 to Eugenio Suarez. Quick throw over, sending Frazier back to the bag. We told you Frazier, 11 steals, has been thrown out 6 times. We brought up the Cleveland Indians last night and about how well they're playing all of a sudden. They're still under 500, but 5 back in the wild card, and they are blasting the Angels again today in Cleveland. It is 8-1. This one right off the top of Suarez's left foot. And he's hurting right now. He's still out of the batter's box. We saw Brennan Bosch do this now over a week ago. And if anybody has ever had a deep bone bruise, it is the closest thing you can do to breaking a bone. And that's how he did it, fouling a ball off his foot. Almost did it again. Still no sign of Brennan Bosch getting back onto the playing field. The Reds have basically carried him now for almost an entire week, where he has been unavailable. So in essence, the Reds, a thin bench already with all the arms they're carrying out in the bullpen with this all rookie starting rotation. And Brian Price playing extremely short on his bench. So where the Reds general manager, president of baseball operations, Walt Jocketty, came into town. He was not with the club on the team charter, which left on Thursday after the game against the Dodgers. But now in town, and Chris, I would imagine, although I don't know for sure, that he would stay with the team, knowing that, you know, he had to get together with Brian Price first of all to finalize who's going to be brought up when the rosters expand, and that will be while the team is in Chicago. September 1st being day after tomorrow, Tuesday.
Walt always seems to make the trip to Milwaukee. Oftentimes he is in Chicago. I imagine he's going to be around for the arrival of those young players that will be coming up out of the minor leagues.
Out of third, there's one. There's two.
Now, Willie Peralta gets his share of ground balls. He throws a lot of two-seam fastballs. That's a fastball of preference for him. And he gets that ball down and into right-handers, and they have a tendency to roll over on it. His fastball, his ground ball percentage up around 53%, so that definitely puts him in the category of a ground ball pitcher. But he's wearing me out watching him. I mean, that is a full effort delivery right there. You watch his follow through, which is coming right towards the Brewer dugout. I mean, he is giving everything he can on every delivery.
Well, he's looked pretty sharp here today. It's bobbled and still in time to get Pena. One hit, nobody left. Well, here's some of that interview Jim Day had last night with Joey Votto when we come back.
Cincinnati need to know, this is embarrassing for us, and it's been really frustrating. And we take no pride in this. We take it very seriously. I know that it bothers me, and I hope that every single time we have a game like this is us moving in the direction of a winning atmosphere, a winning clubhouse, a winning roster. And it's been a few years now. We had a really good stretch there for a while with this. Roughly the same group of guys, and we're not doing it right now. And the people in Cincinnati, especially the fans, need to know that we're doing everything we can to make that right.
That was great stuff last night.
Very articulate and well thought out. There's no doubt, and you can tell that the kind of streak that the Reds have been on, especially before last night, there was not a whole lot to cheer about. They won one game out of the last 14. And it does bother these players. Sometimes you look up here, you watch them play, and they don't hit. It looks like you don't care. But they do care. They're working hard. They're trying to get out of it. The other team's trying too. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to hear Joey verbalize that. Of course, the next step is to take that talk and do the walk and put some wins together. Because this is not a rookie ball club that you're looking at here.
No.
This is a veteran club that has been together quite a long time, and Joey Votto alluded to that. I mean, this core of players that the Reds have, if you can include Cozart and Devin Mesoraco, Frazier, Phillips, Votto, Bruce, and the other two I mentioned, they have been together longer than any other National League ball club. So it's not like they're just getting to know each other here. Certainly not a team of rookies out there. Yes, they have a rookie rotation, but in those games in which you get a good start and a good relief appearances out of your guys in the bullpen, those are games that this team should be able to compete with any other team at the highest level.
That's why, Chris, I don't know if you would agree with this or not. It has a chance to be, I think, one of the most intriguing teams in all of baseball as far as what they're going to do in the wintertime. Are they going to continue to peel off some of those core pieces that have been here for quite a while? There were all kinds of rumors at the trade deadline that the Reds might explore trading Brandon Phillips. He has a 10-5 player call on that. 10 years in the big leagues, 5 or more consecutively with the same team, where he would have to okay any kind of a trade. He's under a contract. There were rumors about Jay Bruce. There were rumors about Aroldis Chapman. We know that Leake and Cueto were traded away on the heels of Matt Latos being dealt with Alfredo Simon during the winter.
Well, I think anytime you have a year like the Reds have had, it creates a shadow of uncertainty. And it extends from the manager's office, maybe even the general manager's office, right on down to the lowest guy on the totem pole. Am I going to be here next year? If I am, what is my role going to be? If you're a player, you're wondering, am I good enough to be here on a team that's contending? And that, of course, that's the question that you have to answer when you're evaluating all these young players that are playing. I mean, it's one thing having a job in the big leagues right now for a team that's, 29 and a half games behind. But it's a whole different story when your team is competing for a top spot, a wild card spot, or a division championship. Can this pitcher pitch on a championship caliber team? That's the question you have to answer. And you do that around the field and everywhere on the roster. So getting out there and just playing the game isn't good enough. You got to win.
Should be 2 here with Perez running. And it is a double play, and that will end the inning. That's a quick inning right there, and a much needed quick inning for Mr. Lamb. We go to the 5th. 2-1, Milwaukee in front. Ford dealer. Ford, go further. By Meyer. Find more for a healthier you at Meyer. By Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on the U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. And by USAA, who today honors all of our service members at home and abroad. We always wish all of those at Cincinnati Children's watching today a great day and pray for a better one tomorrow. It is a 2-1 ball game with the Brewers in front. Schumacher to start things, followed by Lamb. And then the top of the order in Jason Bourgeois. Check swing and a miss. Schumacher called out on strikes. His first time up. Pulled to the right side. And Peralta is, I'm not going to say making it look easy. The Reds have had at least one hit in every inning. But the only inning they scored was the only inning they had more than one hit. And his control has been very good. I mean, he's rarely ever getting to a 2 or a 3 ball count in an at bat. And 1 to Lamb, who bounced out to the second baseman. His only at bat today, and he's 0 for 6 as a big leaguer. Lamb in his first 3 major league starts went 6 innings. That's his longest outing, and that was his major league debut outside of his hometown of Los Angeles. Then he pitched into the 6th inning, allowing 3 runs. Had the lead in that one. The bullpen blew it for him. Then his last start, most recent start against the Dodgers, again 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs. Again puts it in play, but again at the second baseman Herrera. Follow the Reds wherever you are with MLB.com at bat. And you can get it for your smartphone or tablet today. Here's Jason Bourgeois. 0 for 2. A ground out to the shortstop, and he struck out swinging his last time up. Oh, and 2 to Bourgeois. And a strike 3 called, and Jason knew it. 4 strikeouts without a walk, and the first perfect inning of the day for Willie Peralta. He leads 2-1. Live reports around the country, the latest from NFL training camps, and get you ready for a full night of MLB action. Catch America's pregame every weekday 5 Eastern on Fox Sports 1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Reds fans on the short end of a 2-1 ball game right now. Ladder third in the batting order. Brewers have one hit, at least a hit, in every inning against John Lamb. Lamb has not walked a batter. He has struck out 5. Herrera, Maldonado, Peralta, 7, 8, 9 in Craig Counsell's batting order. And quickly ahead 0-2 as he runs a fastball in on him. And that one popped up down the right field line. Bruce coming hard. He'll get there for out number 1. As always, coming up later on, we'll have our Miller Time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. Maldonado's at bat, still one of the most important at bats of this game. It was 1-1 with Maldonado leading off that third inning. Lamb fell behind 3 balls and a strike, then started pumping fastballs, and after one was fouled away to get it to 3-2, Maldonado hammered one down the left field line, something off speed on the 3-2 pitch. And really the breaking ball is what got him into trouble to start with in that at bat. That looked like a changeup there, and that was a good one.
Well, he's had a couple of strikeouts on that changeup already. He struck out Segura and then Ryan Braun in the same inning on the changeup. What we haven't seen him throw is that real slow curveball. I'm wondering if maybe they're just trying to convince him that should not be part of his primary repertoire.
Two and two on Maldonado.
Brian Pena trying to convince him to stay over the strike zone. Any pitch that comes out of a pitcher's hand so far outside that it never even registers on the part of the hitter that could be a strike is just a wasted pitch.
Now he comes right back with that changeup again, and that's his 6th strikeout of the game.
Well, they're identifying that as a pitch that's really working today, so might as well stick with it. They're having bad swings at it. You can tell by the hitters. I mean, one way you scout a pitcher is you don't even look at from behind him or behind the catcher's mitt. You go down one of the baselines around first base and you watch how the hitters are off balance or in balance when they face a certain pitcher. And today, a lot of adding and subtracting for John Lamb.
So the pitcher, Peralta, put down a sacrifice which helped lead to a run in the 3rd inning. And we mentioned he does not have a hit all year long. 0 for 23. And Lamb trying to put together his first perfect inning of the game. He's had 2 innings where he faced a minimum. Had double plays by Herrera and Perez, which came in the 2nd and 4th innings, and he takes care of Peralta on strikes. 7 of them. Reds trail by a run.
The Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
We'll celebrate this year's All-Star Summer by being a part of All-Star T-Shirt Tuesdays, presented by Rice Krispies Treats. For all Tuesday home games, you can buy a package for $25, get a Reds ticket, and an exclusive All-Star themed T-shirt. Purchase your All-Star T-Shirt Tuesday package today. Just visit Reds.com/Tuesday. Let's check in downstairs with Jim Day. Jim, what's going on with your buddy Brandon Phillips down there?
Well, normally you don't mess with the starting pitcher while he's still in the game, unless, of course, you're Brandon Phillips. While he's talking with Brian Pena and Jeff Pico, Brandon Phillips just over his shoulder the whole time. Stood there for about 20 to 30 seconds before Lamb knew he was there. And also goes to show you that John Lamb fitting into the clubhouse. Brandon Phillips feels comfortable enough with him that he can mess with him.
Yeah. That's when you know people like you. If they're going to razz you a little bit, give you a hard time.
Well, you got to know your pitchers, especially because there are some guys on game day, and Tom, you've been around some of them, that you don't want to talk to them. You don't want to look their way. You don't really want to make eye contact with them. You just let them do their own thing because they get geared up for that day like a football player gets geared up for his game day. Mm-hmm. But some guys are a lot more relaxed. It looks like they were just having a conversation in there with Brian Pena, and I think Jeff Pico was in that conversation.
Lamb has been very good today.
Been very relaxed. And that changeup of his has really been working.
Joey Votto is a perfect 2 for 2 today. A pair of singles, one to straightaway center, the other to left center. Both came with 2 outs and nobody on in the inning. Jay Bruce taps out on the first pitch of this 6 by Peralta. So after a day where Bourgeois, Bruce, and Votto combined for 9 base hits, they have 2 today, and Votto has both of them. That's a pretty nice play right there by Herrera.
Votto has hit it hard 3 times in a row. He's got 2 hits to show for it. Pitch down in the zone. He doesn't really pull them all that much. Herrera, who's played third base the last couple of nights. Versatile infielder, makes a nice play there.
So a 2 away for Brandon, who has popped to right and bounced out to a fielder's choice on a ground ball to the shortstop. Reds trailing 2-1. Each team with 5 base hits. We've not had a walk issued by either pitcher in the game. Tailing away down the line. This will go to the corner. A fair ball for Brandon. And he's on his way to second base, where he'll stop with a 2-out double. So let's just have Jim Day start talking, since Todd Frazier is coming up. Or, Jim, does this have to be when he's leading off an inning?
I don't think so. He just said, keep talking when I'm at bat. I guess we're 3 for our last 3. Home run, double, single.
Yep.
So let me reach into my bag of material here. You know, in spring training, we had that little test with him. He claimed that he's the fast food French fry king. We put him through the test and he passed. He's already issued me a challenge. Good Lord willing, we're both in spring training. He claims that he is the greatest apple bobber ever, where you put your head into a bucket and with your mouth pull out the apple. He says no one on the planet is better than him. And he's challenged me to do it in spring training. Now, we both have very large craniums, so the challenge will be to find a big enough
Well, we're going to need a swimming pool.
It could be a swimming pool, a tub, large enough to pull this off. But he has issued the challenge, and if I'm there, I will accept.
When I say swimming pool, I'm talking about one of those, those kids, those little swimming pool, those plastic ones you buy. Jim, you better blow on this one. Just short. Doggone it. Well, we gave it the old college try anyway. Reds are down 2-1. Chicago to borrow a Chris Welsh term for MLS Soccer Sunday. The New York Red Bulls take on DC United. That's 7 Eastern, 6 Central. We've got a shot on Fox Sport 1, sponsored by Audi. We have a shot. 2-1 ball game. Brewers in front. And the top of the order. And a slow breaking ball spun up there at 69 miles per hour. Strike one. Lamb is fanned, 7, walked none. Comes back with another breaking ball. Had a little more on that one at 78. But he's ahead, 0-2. Tell you one thing that can't be denied is John Lamb, despite his youth and despite the fact that this is only his 4th major league game, he certainly has a lot of polish about him for a young man as far as understanding how to pitch.
Well, he's been coached well along the way. I mean, that's the first thing that strikes you about him. The other thing, from a mechanical standpoint, he's doing a really good job of staying over the rubber a long time today before he finally goes to the plate. And that's enabled him to have a little extra movement on his fastball, zip at the end, and deception on that changeup. When he gets into his delivery, I'll show you what I'm talking about.
That's why sometimes you got to be real careful, even when you talk to scouts and you get reports on guys, because, you know, we had heard that this year that Lamb was hitting, if not consistently pitching, with a lot more velocity than what we've seen, at least in his 4 starts. He's basically throwing the fastball almost every time at about 91 or 90 miles an hour. And we were led to believe, at least by some, when he first came over, it was a lot harder than that. Not that he needs to throw that hard to be effective, because he's thrown the ball pretty well.
You know, I think that I feel about radar gun readings the same way you feel about the majority of sabermetrics, which I think they're secondary to some other factors that determine whether a pitcher is going to be successful or not. And deception has got to be part of it. And man, his changeup today has been just outstanding.
There's
They're swinging
no doubt
at it like it's a fastball, and it's just not getting there.
No, you know what you say here, Chris, about this is the hitters will tell you if your stuff's any good.
The way he stays over the rubber, he just kind of straightens his leg out. Well, if we could see that one more time, he just has a nice, smooth delivery. And just watch where he straightens his left leg out. And that helps him stay right there. That helps him stay a little bit behind over the rubber. And then when he does stride forward, he gets way out over his right knee, follows through with his head in direct line towards home plate. I mean, this kid's had some good coaching along the way. I mean, for me, factors like that are as important as whether a guy is throwing 93. Because in my book, it really doesn't matter whether he's throwing 94 or 91. You better hit your spots. Because 94 down the middle gets turned around all day long.
Great point.
Now, if you're throwing 100 miles an hour, that's a different deal.
Yeah, how many of those guys are there?
They're the easy ones to scout.
And I like the way you phrase that because, as you know, I mean, I do feel there are important parts about some of the numbers in the sabermetrics, but it is definitely secondary. I mean, but when you bring that up to people who are all in on sabermetrics, they become so offended and so defensive.
Yeah.
I read an article the other day, which I mean, I almost fell over, arguing about how Mike Trout is a better player this year than Josh Donaldson. Mike Trout's a great player, but go find me any statistical category in the American League outside of one or two. And if you want to look at on-base percentage, Trout is 4th in the league. Donaldson's 8th in the league. Slugging percentage, Donaldson's 9 points better than Trout. But when it comes to runs batted in, comes to home runs, comes to runs scored, comes to total bases, slugging percentage, I mean, extra base hits, Donaldson is higher in every category. And his team is in first place. And I can't remember who wrote the article, but it was almost suggesting as though you should just throw Donaldson's name completely by the wayside and dismiss him as a legitimate American League most valuable player candidate. It just makes no sense.
So if you had your choice of one of those two,
that's a whole different category. That's a whole different category.
Yeah,
that's not what the article was about. I'll take Trout over maybe anybody in the game.
Sure.
All day. But this year, and we don't get to vote, only sports writers vote, I believe, on the most valuable player award, right?
You are correct.
3-2.
Members in good standing.
Yes. What an impressive 6th inning. That is 8 strikeouts for Lamb. He's not walked about it, but he's down 2-1. Today, USAA honors all of our service members at home and abroad. Advantage of exclusive ticket offers and enjoy face painting, live mascot races, games, and more. Don't forget kids 14 and younger receive a Todd Frazier poster thanks to Tri-County Mall. Come on down to the ballpark. We'll look forward to having you. Straight away center field by Suarez, and caught by Domingo Santana. That's a huge play in a one-run game here in the 7th inning.
Boy, he gave it a ride. Of course, people in Milwaukee have been used to for years Carlos Gomez patrolling center field and bringing balls back that have even looked like they were destined to be home runs. Ask Joey Votto about that, but here Domingo Santana, who also plays a fairly deep center field, which put him in position to go back to the wall and make that catch.
So here's Brian Pena. Boy, both these starting pitchers have just been outstanding. Neither has walked a batter. Peralta has fanned 4, allowed a run on 6 hits. Lamb has given up the 2 runs, just 5 hits, has struck out 8. Nor has he walked a batter. The 3-1 pitch, and it's rolled over foul. Three balls, 2 strikes to Pena. Schumacher next. And Peralta to the plate, and that is strike 3 called, and Brian knew it. 5 strikeouts for Willie Peralta.
Yeah, pretty good placement. It's number 6 on your screen, and he just dots the outside corner. Sometimes pitchers just get you.
So 2 away, and now the number 8 hitter Schumacher. And for the time being, Ivan De Jesus Jr. is in the on-deck circle. The Reds have action in their bullpen for the first time. You're down by a run, and we are in the top of the 7th inning.
Regardless of what happens to John Lamb, the Reds have to be extremely excited about 2 of the 3 turns that the starters had in this series so far. Raisel Iglesias, an outstanding night in the first ball game here, and John Lamb here this afternoon.
Serve foul out of play off to the third base side. And a liner that will fall in front of the left fielder Perez. Or Davis, I beg your pardon. And Schumacher, a 2-out single. That's his first hit in 3 at-bats today. And here comes Ivan De Jesus Jr. He'll bat for Lamb. This was Lamb's finest outing as a major leaguer in just his 4th outing as a major leaguer. Allows a career low 2 runs, going 6 full innings for the second time. He retired the last 7 he faced. 9 of 10 that he faced to close it out.
Well, the only thing he did wrong today was pitch on the wrong day. Last night the Reds spotted their starter to a 6-run lead, and that filtered away a little bit, obviously, the game going right down to the 8th inning or the top of the 9th inning. But he was very impressive, was John Lamb today. Again, I mean, if you rate that kid according to Radar Gun, you're not that impressed. But if you really take the time to watch him pitch, and you start looking at how the hitters are swinging at him and how they're taking pitches, then you start to get the whole idea of what it's all about.
He's been impressive, man. You can tell he stays very composed out there for such a young man on the mound. Got a game plan. Very excited to see him continue to pitch for the remainder of this season. And he's one of the guys that they're not all uptight about, the number of innings. He pitched a full year the last couple of years since coming back from his original injury after being drafted by Kansas City. And really the same holds true for Finnegan, who came over with him. Brian Price was on record as saying this guy is going to pitch the rest of the year, because we don't want to go into next year if the game plan continues to be to make him a starter. And that began with Kansas City, not with the Reds. The Reds have just continued that. You don't want to get to a point with him next year where all of a sudden it's, you got to shut him down in early August or late July or late August, whatever the case may be. They want all of these young pitchers, if they can, to be in a position next year, i.e. Iglesias, i.e. Finnegan, i.e. Lorenzen, all of these guys ready to take the ball every 5 days next season if they're in the rotation.
And if they're not in the rotation, you can always shorten them and put them in the bullpen with no problem. But you can't do it the other way around.
1-2 to DeJesus, and a fastball 95 here in the 7th inning on his 102nd pitch of the game. Breaking ball, strike 3 called, and the Reds are gone in the 7th. 6 strikeouts for Peralta. 2-1. Milwaukee leads. Top of the wall. 1-0 Milwaukee. Reds would answer the next half inning after a double by Frazier, a single by Pena. But then in the third inning, a 2-out base hit by Lucroy plates Martin Maldonado. But that would be all. Only 1 hit allowed over the next 3 innings on an impressive performance today by the rookie John Lamb. Lamb strikes out 8, doesn't walk a batter, gives up 2 runs. He cannot win it as the Brewers come to bat here in the bottom half of the 7th inning with a 2-1 lead. And the Reds will go to their bullpen. It's been mighty good since coming back. Has Sam LeCure.
Yeah, he sure has. He's only been in 4 games overall, totaling 5.2 innings. But Sam has been good in every one of those ball games. Unfortunately, the Reds have lost. He's come in close games, and he's done a nice job to keep them close.
All right, Chris Davis to be followed by Domingo Santana. Oh, what a play Santana made there to start that 7th inning. So Davis, Santana making that play on the drive off the bat of Eugenio Suarez. That had extra base hit written all over it. 0-1 to Davis. Up 3rd in the inning is Perez.
You would think this would be a good matchup inning for Sam LeCure because you've got Davis and Santana, very good fastball hitters, and Sam, of course, relies on a lot of movement on his fastball, paints that outside corner with that 2-seamer, but really locks him up with that big curveball that he throws.
Had him way out in front of that breaking ball, and Suarez will throw out Davis to start the 7th inning. Tomorrow night we come your way from Wrigley Field in Chicago. All of a sudden, after being so hot, the Cubs have stubbed their toe. Went out on a big West Coast trip. Won the first game in San Francisco. Lost the next 2. They've dropped 2 in a row against the Dodgers in Los Angeles. And they will play tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern time. So it's going to be a very early morning for the Cubbies. Nice play by Suarez. Deep in the hole at short and cut it loose to just get Santana.
I'll tell you, the more you watch Suarez play, the more you like him. I mean, he had a time there where he began to make a few errors, and he's worked on it very hard. I think he's really had the advantage of taking ground balls alongside Brandon Phillips and learn a lot about it. But he's got plenty of arm. Good foot speed, gets to the ball, stops. And that's a long throw. Sam knows good defense when he sees it.
And Sam knows Suarez. They were together in Louisville for half of this season before Cozart got hurt. Freddie Benavidez has been working tirelessly as well with Suarez. And won the count on Hernan Perez. He is singled and bounced into a double play.
I don't think Hernan Perez has ever seen a pitch like that before, because he looked at the pitch, looked at the plate, looked at the umpire, looked back at the plate, and said, did I just see what I think I just saw? A pitch that looked like it was going to be about 8 inches outside and then eclipse the outside corner.
That's a dandy when Sam has that thing working. Hit down the right field line. Foul.
Here's the reaction we're talking about. That called strike comes in there. Your first inclination is that he's cheating, because nobody has that much movement on the ball, a right-hander on that part of the plate. And that has been his calling card.
Well, he spun up a breaking ball that gets hooked into left center field, and Perez on his way to second base, and he slides in there safely with a double.
Well, the problem with it is that he got him looking out there, and he kind of hung it out there for him. Even though the pitch was down, Perez was looking out on that part of the plate, and he felt very comfortable going down there to get it.
Elian Herrera, the batter, has bounced into a double play, 5-4-3 back in the second inning. And then he popped up to Jay Bruce in short right field leading off the fifth. Here we are, last of the seventh. Brewers 2, Reds 1. This is the decisive game of the weekend series. Brewers took the opener. The Reds rallied in the ninth inning to win last night. A wild game, a long game. Not a well-played game last night. Two teams combining for 21 runs and 30 base hits. Only 3 runs and 13 hits for the two teams thus far today. And Votto will go behind the bag, feed LeCure, and that's that in the seventh. Sam, a scoreless inning. We're off to the eighth, a 1-run game.
One-run ball game. The Brewers are up by 1, 2-1. And the top of the eighth inning, Logan Schaefer takes over in center field. That will move the center fielder Domingo Santana over to left. And a new pitcher on the mound. We've seen him a couple of times already in this series. It will be the left-hander Will Smith. And he will face the top of the Reds order as Jason Bourgeois, Jay Bruce, and Joey Votto getting ready here for the top of the eighth inning.
All right. See if the Reds can rally late as they did last night. Boy, this Smith is he takes the ball every game. Third game in a row he's pitched in this series.
Well, it's the one thing that does present an opportunity for the opposition, the opposing managers, when you do group your two lefties together back to back, and you've got them there with Bruce and Votto. Some managers don't give a hoot about that, and some really buy into the theory. I would never want those guys back to back because of this situation here where you bring a situational left-hander in to pitch 1 inning and he gets both of them.
Well, what a game by the starter Peralta. 1 run, 7 hits, 6 strikeouts, no walks. Peralta making just his 16th start of the year. We told you he spent nearly 2 months on the disabled list this year with a strained oblique. He has not completed a game this year. One and 2 on Jason Bourgeois. Glove side for Perez, 1 out. 0 for 4 for Bourgeois. Here comes Bruce, who's 0 for 3. Bruce has not seen Smith in either of the first 2 games of this series. Votto has. And the only at bat that Joey had against Smith was one of the biggest at bats of the game on Friday night. It was a tight game, 3-0. The Reds had 2 on with only 1 out, and Smith induced Votto to hit an inning-ending double play that started on a ground ball to the second baseman. 2-0 on Bruce. Brewers do have a day off tomorrow. Then the Pirates come into town Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, before they make their way then to Cincinnati starting Friday night. 2 balls and a strike to Jay Bruce. Reds will have night games tomorrow and Tuesday in Chicago. We were starting to talk about the Cubs. Now you figure they're not going to get in until the sun's coming up in Chicago tomorrow morning and have to tee them up tomorrow night. That ball in the air hit pretty well by Bruce. Braun has it played off the wall, and Bruce with a stand-up double, and he represents a tying run here in the 8th inning.
Well, he hit a home run yesterday a long way. This time it looks like he just flicks his wrist, and that ball looks like is on the end of the bat, but still goes a long way. It goes over the head of the right fielder, Braun, and Braun thought for a moment that ball may be out of here, and almost was, about a foot from going out and giving the Reds a tie ball game.
So here we have, for a 3rd consecutive day, a big at bat by the Reds' best hitter. We told you on Friday night, against the same pitcher, Votto bounced into a double play. We know what happened last night, the dramatic 2-run home run against Francisco Rodriguez. And here's Votto in the 8th inning on this Sunday. His team down a run, batting with a runner at second and 1 out. Strike 1. Votto has hit the ball very hard his first 2 times up, both singles into center and left center. He bounced out to the second baseman Herrera in the 6th. All of those at bats against Peralta. Breaking ball away from him. 1-1 to Joey Votto. Fastball just low. 2 balls and a strike.
Well, you throw that pitch right there, and for Joey Votto, you further define the outer part of the strike zone because he knows it's either on the corner or just off the corner. So now you know anything higher and closer to him is a strike. Anything lower or farther away is a ball. Not a good time to go right back out there again if you're Will Smith.
Well, he went out there, and boy, Votto, you saw that snap of the bat with his left hand. He took a big rip and would love to have another one of those.
Like most hitters that hold the bat straight up and down at the time they begin their swing, Votto is much quicker to the ball down in the zone than he is up in the zone. And that ball elevated a little bit above the waist, and that's for him is a little more difficult pitch to get to. Most of the pitches that he drives hard the other way are pitches down in the zone. Just the way his swing is built.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Joey with Bruce at second base. Oh, breaking ball didn't miss by much.
Boy, Smith, both hands to his head right there. Can't believe it. He's just somewhere that pitch had to go across the plate in the strike zone.
Well, he threw it 2-2. What about 3-2?
Darn right.
Yep, nowhere near the zone that time, and Votto takes a walk. So he'll hand off the responsibility of trying to bring in the tying run to Brandon Phillips, and we'll see if Brandon can do that, but he'll be facing a new pitcher. Here comes Craig Counsell. I think Smith's still smarting about that breaking ball on the 2-2 pitch. So be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. 2-1 for the Reds, down to 1 in the 8th. Some noise here in the 8th inning. They get a 1-out double by Jay Bruce. Votto follows with a walk. We mentioned that Will Smith has pitched 3 games in a row in this series. The same holds true once Jeremy Jeffress lets one fly here in the 8th inning.
Well, a manager's job is to try to win a ball game, and you know you've got to go with the best percentages sometimes, the best feel for what you think is the best opportunity for your team to win, and that means bringing in a right-handed hitter, or right-handed pitcher, that is, to face Brandon Phillips in this case. Jeffress we have seen, and boy, he's got a pretty good arm, just about like Willie Peralta. He can get up there in the mid-90s.
All right, Brandon Phillips, the batter, tying run at second base. Go ahead, run at first. Jefferson checking the runners, and here it comes. It's low. Ball one on Brandon, who doubled down the right field line. That's his only hit in 3 at-bats. That was his last time up. Now, Jeffers faced Phillips last night. Brandon had a base hit against him, a single into left field. Jeffers missed Phillips on Friday night.
Well, the one reason he's in there right now, I mean, there's a couple of reasons. One, he's their best situational right-hander in this particular case. Number 2, he throws hard. He can miss bats and get some strikeouts. And number 3, when he does get balls hit off of him, they are normally on the ground. He has had 8 ground ball double plays turned behind him in only 50-plus innings. And that is a bundle.
One ball, one strike on Brandon, and a double play ball here. This will end the 8th. He just said it. That's his MO. And Jeffress delivers the goods.
Stop improving since he has come and made his Reds debut in 2015. Look at the numbers. 5 games, 6 2/3 innings pitched now after that scoreless last inning. 1 hit, no earned runs, 5 strikeouts. In addition to being effective, Brian Price talked about a guy that can also give you multiple innings. So when he's on, we have seen how valuable Sam LeCure can be.
Well, you're right about that, Jim Day. Everybody's just so excited to have him around. I know we've said that ever since the day he showed up again, but this guy is all about the team. And, you know, he said if I can help all these young guys, which is what I was trying to do when I was down at AAA Louisville, now he's the last one, strangely enough, to arrive. Many of the youngsters he played with in Louisville have been here for a while already. Well, Craig Counsell's going to get his closer, who, like the last 2 pitchers, Smith and Jeffers, Rodriguez has pitched in each of the first 2 games of this series, and he blew the save last night. Tell you what, that's old school managing there, man. Running guys out there 3 days in a row. You don't see that much. especially 3 of them.
You know, Sam was the kind of veteran that you get down in AAA and he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder. There are so many times what happens is a guy gets cut and he's got a guaranteed contract and he doesn't think he belongs in the minor leagues, and here he is, and he's making a lot of money and he doesn't really mesh with the team, and you know, he's just a sour guy to be around. But from everybody I spoke with down in Louisville, he could not have been more helpful to all the other pitchers down there, better teammate for everybody, good for the manager and the coaching staff, knowing that if he got his act together and continued to do what made him successful in the big leagues, he'd be back up here again. Like many, I'm surprised it took so long for the Reds to get him up here, but I'm glad to see him up here now. And it was really never about velocity for Sam, even though they were very concerned coming out of spring training that his fastball was in the mid to high 80s.
That one ripped down the right field line into the corner off the bat of Maldonado. Well, here's a guy that had 5 extra base hits this entire season, and he has 2 of them in 3 at-bats today.
Well, he hit a cutter in the 3rd inning off of John Lamb down the left field line. Here he hits a fastball going the other way. He's plenty strong. He just doesn't put the sweet part of the bat on it enough. Picks up an opposite field double there.
Well, they made a double switch, which we showed you in the last inning defensively, where they have done now 3 games in a row. They put Logan Schaefer into center field, and then they'll move Santana over to left. Schaefer has 3 sacrifices, and rest assured he will be asked to bunt here.
I don't know. Do you bunt him or do you let him swing here?
I'm bunting him for sure. 2-run leads, it's a big thing. 2 away in the air, 1 away.
Yeah, but you have no confidence in that guy to pull the ball the right side of the infield and get the runner over? I mean, because by bunting, you're giving up an out where that out could be a productive out, even more so than a bunt, by getting the runner over to third base, maybe even with a base hit. But when you bunt, you know you're not going to get a base hit, even with a speedy runner like Schaefer. So that it really is old school by Craig Counsell. Going back to his Notre Dame days.
I don't know. I still think in a 2-1 game in the bottom of the 8th inning, I still think the overwhelming majority of managers, a guy coming off the bench who's hitting a $180, or a backup player, unless he's a slugger kind of a hitter, you know, big swing and a miss guy.
But all you want him to do is hit the ball the right side.
I know, but we've seen Logan Schaefer play, and it's no knock on Logan Schaefer. God bless him, he's in the big leagues, but you know, he's been given a ton of chances to be an everyday guy and do a lot of things, and it just hadn't happened.
Yeah, you know what? And I haven't seen him play enough to know whether he's a guy that can pull the ball at will. Although he's a left-handed hitter facing a pitcher that's not overpowered.
Yep.
So you're figuring, well, Sam LeCure's stuff is pullable. That's why I like to do these games with you.
Sure. We have a little fun. It's fun to, because nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's just fun to talk about. That's what's a good thing about being able to have a conversation without somebody, you know, insinuating you're a fool if you believe differently than them. And there are a lot of them out there.
Well, LeCure ahead now. We can really expand the zone.
0-2 indeed to Segura. Infield in for the Reds. That's a 3-1 game.
Wow.
Segura's going to make the turn. He's coming to third, and he will get there easily.
Well, I just don't understand the Reds' penchant for wanting to pitch him up. They did that with Lamb. Tried to chase him with a couple of high fastballs, and you're ahead 0-2, and that pitch just wasn't where Sam LeCure wanted it, and Segura makes him pay.
It's a big run, and it's an even bigger run standing out there at third as they try to go from a 2-run lead to a 3-run lead. Sam goes an inning and a third. Allows 3 hits, no strikeouts, no walks so far. Right. Of the game brought to you by T-Mobile. Chris, thank you. Good looking couple hanging out at the ballpark. Very nice. Jumbo Diaz will come on after Sam LeCure allows a triple to Segura. To make it a 3-1 game in favor of the Brewers.
You know, Tom, you go back to last night's ball game. One of the important things we really didn't talk about enough was how J.J. Hoover was able to strand a runner at third base after Lucroy hit a 1-out triple. And he got out of the inning without giving up an extra run, and that kept it a 1-run game. So Joey Votto's 2-run homer gave the Reds a lead. So they were able to add one more run on here in the bottom of the 8th. The Brewers are, and now Jumbo needs a strikeout.
Well, the infield drawn in once again, as they were just a moment ago with a runner at third. And you figure Brian Price saying, here's where I need the strikeout. And so you're going to bring in Diaz to face Lucroy. Of course, the argument could be made that once they sacrificed the runner to third just a moment ago, you needed the exact same thing. The Reds stayed with the cure, and he got ahead 0-2 before Segura tripled down the right field corner. 0-1. And that's a check swing and a miss, 0-2. Lucroy knocked in the tie-breaking run in the third. It was a 1-1 game. And he had a 2-out single into left field against John Lamb. And right now, Lamb on the hook. He gave up 2 in 6 outstanding innings. But the Reds have been completely shut down today by Peralta, Smith, and Jeffress, as Rodriguez was up. He is not throwing right now in their bullpen. Fly ball. This is deep enough to score Segura. And that will make it a 4-1 ball game. Braun, a solo home run in the first inning, has struck out swinging twice since. And he's behind strike one here in the eighth. A 2-run eighth. Both runs charged to LeCure. And a 2-1 game has become a 3-run margin. Slider away, 1 ball and 1 strike. That ball hit hard. Bruce at the wall. Had a hit off his glove, bounds away from him. This is going to be the second triple of the inning.
Boy, the Brewers really do like to hit it opposite field. We've seen Segura go down there in this corner to get a triple. That ball nearly caught by Bruce. It flicks off the top of his glove and then goes off the top of the wall out there. Braun is thinking for a moment, maybe I'm going all the way in. And the relay came into Brandon Phillips. They do hit it the right field, and they hit it the right field more than anybody else in all of baseball. 30% of the balls in play that the Brewers hit go opposite field. That's an interesting stat right there. Of course, that stat does not include a lot of teams that are top of the division, with the Marlins and the Colorado Rockies there, or the Athletics. So maybe there's more to it than just hitting it the other way.
Well, the Giants were on there.
Yeah. Hey, if they haven't made believers out of you in the past, they're doing it again this year.
There's no doubt about it.
I mean, they pick up a player, and all of a sudden he turns on the spigot. And in this case, it was Marlon Byrd that has just simply gotten red hot as the San Francisco Giants.
Well, guys get re-energized when all of a sudden you go from, floundering around. We remember Hunter Pence a few years ago, and Philadelphia was starting its decline. All of a sudden was sent to the Giants. They took off. And there have been others, and right now at least that's a start for Marlon Byrd. And as far as a home ballpark is concerned, right now, and really ever since it's always been a great environment, but especially since they won that first of now 3 World Series over the last 5 years. The environment is so much fun at that ballpark every night in San Francisco.
Oh.
I mean, the fans are really into it. They sell out every night. There's a festive party-like atmosphere at the games, and the music and everything that goes along with it. And when you win a lot, that tends to happen.
And the expectations are very high out there. I mean, they lose a game and they go away angry.
Yes, they do. I mean, believe me, one day it will come crashing down, and it's not going to be a pretty place to be around. Because I saw when it started going down the first time. And it was ugly because they had a good run at it for so many years there.
Well, those that are very close to the ball club call it the San Francisco Mafia. They expect it, and you better be delivered.
They're right. Well, Jumbo fell behind Lynn before intentionally walking him. And now a fastball at 95 miles per hour hits Domingo Santana.
I mean, he didn't even move. I don't know whether he didn't see that ball, but I mean, he just let that ball essentially hit him on the elbow without moving at all.
Well, no breadcrumbs needed for Jeff Pico over this 3-game series. Get ready for Reds action 30 minutes before the start of every game. We call it Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Tomorrow night, Wrigley Field, the venue for the first of 3. And with a 1-hour time difference, we come your way tomorrow night at 7:30. And still a question mark there as to whether or not David Holmberg will be starting for the Reds. We know Kyle Hendricks will start it for the Cubbies. We'll get our first look at Dan Herron as a Cub. And then Jason Hamill, the series finale. Night game, day game. There have been some whispers that Michael Lorenzen will be starting the game tomorrow night for the Reds. We'll see. 0-1 pitch. Don't want to give away the secret of who could be the starter tomorrow night. So, you know, really, I got a piece of Brian Pena in a big way. Look at this. Oh, my goodness. Oh, man. Those guys are just, they're just so tough. Gone swinging is Perez, and the Brewers leave them loaded, but they get 2 big runs. The Reds will back. Can they do it for a second straight day? Rally in the ninth. We'll be celebrating German Heritage Day. The first 20,000 fans receive a Red Stein thanks to Hollywood Casino. September the 5th, don't forget, that is a rare Saturday 1:10 start. Couple of changes for Milwaukee with a 4-1 lead here in the ninth. Adam Lind, after batting a moment ago, will just stay in the game to play first base. Lucroy is out. Maldonado remains behind the plate. And now on the mound. Blew the save here last night. He had saved 35 in a row dating back to last year, and all 30 this year is Francisco Rodriguez. Frazier to lead things off. It's a strike. Frazier in the game, 2 out of 3. He's doubled, scored, singled, and flied out to left. The only Reds run came in the second inning. It was a double by Frazier. A ground ball advanced him on to third, and then against a drawn-in infield, Brian Pena bounced one back up through the middle into center field, which at the time tied the game at 1. The Brewers would break that tie in the third. Stayed 2-1 until the just completed bottom of the 8th when the Brewers scored twice. Frazier a hard hit ball, but gloved by Perez. 1 out to start the 9th inning. It has been a long time since these Reds have won a series if you take away the 1-game makeup against the Detroit Tigers on the just completed homestand. The last time they even split a series, the last 2 days of July, the first 2 days of August, that was a 4-gamer against the Pirates. There's a fly ball on the right by Suarez, 2 away. The last time the Reds won a series was a series before that, ironically against a team that has just dominated them for years, the Cardinals. The Reds lost the first game of that series July the 27th, but won the next 2, taking 2 out of 3. So they will end this month of August unless they can rally with 2 outs without a series victory in the entire month of August. Now they played some decent teams, but we've seen the Cardinals, Arizona twice, San Diego, the Dodgers twice, Kansas City. But that would not be the case for Milwaukee. Brian Pena, a check swing. Did he go? No. 1 ball and 1 strike to Brian. Knocked in the only Reds run in the second inning. Grounded to short and struck out. High pop up, and this should do it. The second baseman, Elian Herrera, squeezes it tightly. Rodriguez the save. His 31st. Peralta the winner, 4 and 9. And the tough luck loser, he pitched beautifully here today, John Lamb. All right, back with more in a moment.